Let's do some patriotic DIYs. This is Craft Classy. If you're new, I'm Carolyn. Welcome. Let's get started. For this one, you'll need one of these hat signs from Dollar Tree that are out this year. I just gave all that glitter a good sanding and got most of it off. Then I'm using the top of the hat as a template because I'm going to be cutting this down because it's a little too tall for the look I'm going for. Using a utility knife, I just scored it over and over and over. I got a little bit impatient toward the end and broke it the rest of the way, which turned out fine. But if you want, to be more careful and for it to maybe look perfect on the back, because it did break off a little unevenly on the back, I would just have patience and continue to score it, and it will eventually cut through it. I used scissors to clip off any of the little broken pieces that were uneven, and then I sanded the top smooth. Just using the width of a ruler, I drew some vertical lines all the way across the top of the hat. I did want this to be a hanging sign, and so using my Crocodile Big Bite, I'll have that linked in the description box. I did do 2 holes, one in each corner. I used Waverly chalk paint to paint this sign. If you're using a more watery paint, you might cause the paper on the front of this Dollar Tree sign to come up. Just depends on how watery it is, because that's how you can remove the paper from these signs, is to soak them in water, and it will cause the paper to loosen from the sign. So if your paint's very watery, you might have to remove the paper first using that technique. You could just start painting it and see if it's going to make the paper come up. Mine didn't. My paint did not make the paper come up at all because I was using Waverly chalk paint, and it's pretty thick, a pretty dry paint. It is water-based, but it's pretty thick, and so it didn't bother the paper at all, and mine was especially thick because it's starting to dry out just a touch. I mixed the blue and red with a little bit of Truffle to darken those colors up a little bit. I know that the blue paint around the stars is basically the same color as the paint I'm using, but the paper had a shiny look to it, and so I wanted the whole piece to be cohesive, so I went ahead and just traced around those stars and just painted over the blue and used cashew chalk paint to go over the stars. I did use antique wax on the edges to darken up that NDF along the edges there. I took some pitberry garland from the Dollar Tree, and every other grouping of berries I painted with the blue paint, so it would be blue and red berries instead of red and dark red.
A handful of strangers, they face many dangers to make their country grow. It's now quite a nation of wondrous population and free from every care.
I did decide last minute that the hanger was a little bit long, but instead of, pulling it out and redoing it, I just twisted the top. I thought that made it look a little bit better.
It's your land, it's my land, a great do or die land, and that's just why I sing. America, I love you. You're like the sweetheart of my heart. From ocean to ocean, for you my devotion is touching its boundary line, just like a little baby.
This is just a quick reminder that if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any future videos. Those are free ways to help my channel, and it's greatly appreciated. For this one, you'll need these jumbo popsicle sticks or craft sticks, and I think they're actually the size up from jumbo. They might be called super jumbo. I don't think they're the giant ones because they have giant ones that are bigger than this, but it's the size up from the jumbo. But you could use whatever size you want. That's just what I used. I'm going to cut off the rounded ends of each one, and I am not being careful to make these perfect because this is going to be a more rustic craft. I painted about a third of it with that same blue paint that I used on the last project, and I'm using this stencil that I got from Crafter Square. Just going to try to make it cover as much of this as possible and make sure my stars are sort of straight. And then I'm using cashew and going to just pounce that with a stencil brush. I got this stencil brush from Dollar Tree, and as I was, pouncing the paint, the bristles just disappeared on me and went inside the paintbrush. So I just tossed that and got another paintbrush that I got from Dollar Tree and used that. It just, it sort of has a flat top to it. So it's good for stenciling, and just try not to put, if you do this, try not to put too much paint on your brush so that the paint doesn't go up underneath the stencil. You want it pretty dry. Better to do a couple of light coats than to go too heavy with it. There's a couple of different ways you could have done this. I could have put it all together, to begin with, but I wanted to cover each of these craft sticks with something different. And so I kept them separate until near the end. So this is a good project to use up some scraps, and I just kept it. I wasn't too particular about what I used. I just kept it in the red and white family. And I just used some fabric, some striped fabric that I got from Walmart.com, and one of the paper doilies from the Dollar Tree. And with each of these, I'm just leaving it too big on the stick and then letting that dry, and then I'll come back and sand away the excess, sanding down to remove that excess. I did go back over top of that fabric with another coat of Mod Podge. I didn't show that part. And I would suggest going back over the whole piece with some Mod Podge, and depending on where you hang this at, when you're going to put something outside, you want to use the outdoor Mod Podge or the dishwasher Mod Podge. I find works well outdoors as well.
From all sorts of places, they welcomed all the races to settle on their shore. They did not care which one, the poor or the rich one, they still had room for more. To give them protection by popular election, a set of laws they chose. They're your laws and my laws, for your cause and my cause. That's why this country rolls. America, I love you. You're like a sweetheart of mine. From ocean to ocean, for you my devotion is such.
The thicker your material you're sanding away, the more coarse you're going to want your sandpaper or your sanding block to be. And so using, a low grain sanding block here, a real coarse sanding block, I'm just sanding away all the excess paper and fabric, and that makes for a really nice edge. And optional is just to use some antique wax by Waverly and darken up the edges and make it look a little older.
Here's
And to hold all of the pieces together, I just used the jumbo size popsicle sticks and some wood glue and just let that set up. I put some heavy bottles on top of those so that it would dry straight, because these craft sticks, they're not always perfectly straight or lay perfectly flat. I don't remember where I got this star shape from. It was either Dollar Tree or Walmart in a pack of stars. I had already taken the label off of it, but I just painted it with the same cashew paint. I tried to make these pieces match as much as possible, so I continued using the same colored paints. And on the back, I just used for a hanger some twine. I could have done the same thing as with the hat, but I just didn't want to use up all my pipberry garland. But just use some masking tape and some hot glue, and that works pretty well. For this one, I'm using one of these Dollar Tree boxes that has the little drawer in it, and I'm going to give the box a coat of cashew paint on the outside, and I'm not going to use the inside drawer piece. I found this Patriotic fabric at Walmart. It was in stock in my store, and it was just a couple of bucks for a good sized piece of it. And I'm going to be cutting out some of the decorative elements on this fabric and just using pieces of it, cutting it up and using it in pieces. And I will try to find that and leave the link for it in my description box if they have it for sale online. Using Mod Podge, I'm just going to put one sort of image on each side of the box. I'm going to make some little flags to go inside of this box, and I'm using some of this striped fabric that I got from Walmart.com a while back. I don't know if it's still available. I can try to find that. If anyone's interested, let me know in the comments, and I will get that link to you. But I'm going to take some more of the little, some more of that fabric and cut out some pieces of it to put on these little flags. And for flag sticks, I'm using those little skinny sticks that you can get at Walmart and at craft stores. There's a bunch of different ways you can make these little rustic flags. I just, I was winging it here. And I did one sort of, where the decorative element was on the front of one side, and then made sure there was an opposite to that. It's hard to explain, but you'll see what I'm talking about. I used some styrofoam and I added some paper in the bottom first because my styrofoam wasn't quite tall enough. And then I, just used some packaging styrofoam from a package that I got, and I topped that off with some Spanish moss to cover that. And I'm going to use some more of that berry garland from Dollar Tree with some of the berries painted in that blue color, and just making some little, I don't even know what to call them, just some little spirals using a paintbrush. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I really appreciate that. You can also find me on Instagram and Pinterest. Those links are in the description box along with other useful information. I always put supply lists for the crafts that I do in the description box. But I hope you all have a wonderful day. I'll see you in the next one.